Hello everybody, this is Rich with High% Trading and the Grail trading system. This is going to be an instructional video on how to use the new Grail Big Band Trader. But before we do that, let's go ahead and put up the obligatory disclaimer so everybody has that. Alright, if you haven't read the disclaimer before, please take a moment to read it. You can go ahead and pause the video if you like to see the full amount, but that's always required now before we post anything. So here's your disclaimer, and after you're done with that, let's go ahead and proceed to continue with our training webinar today. Now, we have three different Grail traders. One is the original Grail trading system that was first released and that you've been using. The second one is the Grail Big Band Trader 3, and that's the indicator that's on this chart. And if you notice, when you load it, under the indicators it says Grail Big Band Trader 3. When you do load it on your chart, you can go ahead and bring up the settings tab again, and again it has Grail 1, 2, and 3, just like your original Grail Trader. Now, what makes this one different is that you can check all the boxes that you would like on all of the bands, and when price enters that area, it will go ahead and trigger the arrows. So if I'm on Grail 1, for example, you'll notice what I've got right now is I've got this one triggered. This is called trades the OP band. So in other words, it's going to be looking to trade above and below the OP band, and I'm going to show a couple of examples of that now. So if I scroll back to the beginning of the session time, which is 3 a.m. Eastern, that's midnight Pacific, that's what we use, you'll notice that the Grail 1 trading the OP band was going to go short when you went below the band here. It will go long when you go above the band here, and then short again when you go below the band here. So those were the signals that it was signaling early on. You can see that the first trade really didn't amount to much. Second, you got a fairly good scalp, a nice scalp, but then the third one was a real big home run. And then we came down into the lower band number 1, which was also the number 1 smart profile level predicted for the day, and I'll show that a little bit later. But again, trading that over on the Grail 1 setting, it was trading the band. Now, if you just want to trade the line, and that is that if it closes above the line, it's long, the OP line. If it closes below the OP line, it's going to be short, okay? That's generally not recommended because that's going to provide quite a few trades back and forth, but again, you can test it out to see if you like it. In order to do that, you should turn this one off and turn this one on. Now, the OP trading, the OP bands, the OP lines, that's the only one that you should only have one on, okay? Otherwise, you're going to get multiple signals, and that's not good. So if you're going to trade the OP, whether it's the OP band or whether it's the OP line, or as I'm going to show here, trading long at the OP line here, and so it's going to go long above the line but short below the band. And what that basically means is if it closes above the line, it's going to be a long, but it won't go short again till you close below the line here. There's a way to set the opposite as well, but I'm going to not show that right now because later when I do the other video, training video on the Grail Trader, that one has that built in. So it has the fourth one built in. Also, it's got the U5 band and D5 band checked again also the U8 bands and the D8 bands checked. So again, when it comes to the rest of the bands, you can have all those checked, but when you're trading the OP levels, just do one of the three selections here. Okay. The other thing I want to mention, I'm not going to touch on it too much right now, but the first three that are in here, you can also trigger them on. So if you just want to only take the trades with the Grail DT trend, you can do that. If you only want to take trades with the Grail profit, you can do that, or you could do both of them. And so you should experiment with that. But when it comes to trading the OP, I pretty much just like to trade that OP by itself. I don't like to filter it with any other filters because, again, the whole theory behind trading the OP and the OP band is we're not going to stay there very long. We're going to move out and get some good movement. Now let me show Grail 2. So Grail 2 is over here. And again, you'll notice the first three are not on, but you can filter them, like I said. But if you scroll down and look, all of the rest of the bands are checked. Okay, so basically the Grail 2 on this is looking to show the trades on the U1 and D1 bands, the U3 and the D3 bands, the U6 and the D6 bands, and that's it. We've got a couple of open slots here, but one open slot, but we're not using that. Okay. Same thing applies over here on Grail 3. In other words, if we come in here on Grail 3, it's the same thing. Grail 3 is trading the U2 D2s, the U4 D4s, the U7 D7. So all of those are checked, which means that they're all mutually exclusive as far as the bands are concerned, other than the OP. And that is when we get into those bands, it will actually show the trade setups. So let me kind of show you what I mean. This was the Grail 1 trade setup, okay? And then as we came down into band number 1 to the downside, which is also the number 1 smart profile level for the day, it went ahead and triggered the entry. We did not trade below the bottom, so there was no short, but we traded above rather, so there was a long. As we moved up off of that level, we came back into the OP again, and again, the OP was just triggering trades back and forth through the OP. We continued to move higher, all right, and we moved up into the U1 band to the upside. So again, that was turned on, and it was signaling trades through the U1. Okay. So again, no need to turn things on, turn things off. We came back down through the U1 band, so it signaled the shorts. Came back up through the U1 band, signaled the longs. And then we got up to the U2 band, so it was triggering trades in the U2 band. And I believe we hit the U3 band as well. Still pretty early in the session, so let me just demonstrate this as we move up. So eventually we did move up into the U3 band, and you can see that it's signaling the trades here. Now, just one caveat. You really don't want to be trading every single band that's out here. We've talked about this before, and we'll continue to reiterate it. There are certain bands that you really want to focus in on, and a lot of those have to do with the type of day that we're trading as well. The important bands that I consider are bands 2, above and below the market if it's a normal day. And then also the important bands are the number 1 profile level below the market attached to a band, and the number 1 smart profile level above the market attached to a band. And so we knew coming in to the morning on Friday that this was the number 1 smart market profile level, and indeed that triggered a nice trade, and it never came back to test this again. Okay, so even though we're showing the trades back and forth and all the bands, that of course doesn't mean you want to trade all that. You've got to be selective in your trading and follow the guidelines that we set forth in the room and in our workshops, because the last thing you want to be doing is over trading. Stick to the important levels that we always talk about. Now, as I also indicated again, if you want to trade any of these with any of the trend methods, you can. So if you just want to trade this with the Grail DT, you can activate that. If you want to trade it with the Grail Profit, you can activate that. If you want to trade them in conjunction with both of those, you can activate them. If you click Apply, on the fly, it'll make the change. It's not going to show anything historical, but on the fly, anything beyond that to the future, it'll take that into account. If you want to see the historical, then you have to left-click Apply, go to the chart, right-click, and do Reload Ninja Script, and it'll show all the historical with the changes that you've made. Now, in addition to that, the Grail trading system has the actual Grail trader built into it. This is the Grail trader right here. If you want to activate that trader, if you want to make it shown, you click on the box here, and notice that it says Grail Trader Reload. So you have to click Apply. Remember, anytime that you make a change, if you check a box, uncheck a box, you've got to click Apply. This is the only feature that doesn't work on the fly, which means you have to reload the chart. So again, you have to go to the chart, right-click, reload Ninja Script, and it will reload the chart for you, and then we're going to show the trader. All right, so once I reload it and I open up the chart trader, you'll see on the right-hand side we have the Grail trader. All right, first thing you have to do, you have to put a valid ATM strategy in here, and we've talked about how to build those before. You want to have a valid ATM strategy. If you don't have a valid ATM strategy, then you're not going to be able to do anything, and you're going to get a message that said disabled, no ATM selected. You're not going to be able to trade using that. So I'm going to go back and put it back on here again. Okay, this one's just demonstrating a single entry. Okay. It's set to go, I set this with 10 losses. In other words, you can have 10 losing trades, not cumulative, but just 10 losing trades, and then it won't allow a trade anymore. If your losses would exceed $500, it won't allow a trade anymore. If your profits exceeded $1,500, it wouldn't allow a trade anymore. And of course, you can change all these if you want. Okay. The way that you take an entry basically is you would come in here and either do buy market, buy bid, or buy ask. Okay. When you're trading Grail 1, it's a very good idea always to use buy market. If you're doing Grail 2 or Grail 3 on normal Grail entries, you can try to use this. But again, if you're trading, for the most part, I always like to do buy market because I don't want to miss a trade. And you're going to find that by trying to limit this, the trades that you miss are always the real big ones that move. So if you want to be a buyer, you can go ahead and click that and then click single entry, one entry. You can also have the sell market with this on, and they're mutually exclusive, so it's going to take whatever trade occurs first on an arrow. So for example, as we came down into this area down here, we didn't know if it was going to break below or go above. In this case, it went above. The buy market was there, the one entry, and it's signaled. Okay. The other thing that you can do is you could do multiple entries, which means that once you were to enter this trade and you got out with your profit target or your stop, it would then look to take the next trade again. And again, you can be selective. You can only be a buyer or a seller. This would demonstrate the buyer. This would demonstrate both. Okay. Once you're in a position, You could use the reverse button to reverse your trade on an arrow. That button's not going to stay on until you're in a trade for at least a bar, so it can recognize that. If you want to exit on an arrow, you can, but again, you've got to have it marked, whether it's a buy market or sell market to exit. And if you want to add to a position on an arrow, and of course it's got to be in the same direction, you can do that as well. At any time you want to reset and start over, in other words, you've had a series of trades, you may want to change parameters in here, just click reset, and it'll reset everything back to what the default was. In a subsequent video, I'm going to show how you can use the Grail Mini Trader as well to trade this. The Grail Mini Trader will do more things than this will do. This is just strictly limited to the Grail arrows, but in a subsequent video that you can view, we're going to go into detail on the Grail Mini Trader as well. Again, the last thing I want to stress again is even though the arrows are going to be appearing on every one of these big band areas, the bands, it's not designed to trade every band. That's not what you want to be doing. Okay, you want to be selective, just like we're selective in all of our trading, and you want to pick the opportune bands in the opportune places to trade those bands. And again, what's the opportune? On a normal day, you're looking band 2 above, band 2 below. Those are very important in addition to the OP. In addition to that, as I indicated, the number 1 smart profile level down and the number 1 smart profile up are very strong levels. That was the number 1 smart profile on the downside for Friday, and you can see it never looked back. Okay. Once we move to expanded, then you can look to perhaps trade through the other bands as well. But again, selectivity is the key word. You don't want to overtrade. You want to get to your goals and be done, because eventually, when you've had a good run and you've made good money and you have gotten to your goals, you will start to give some back. It's just the nature of what markets do. So again, that's the one caveat. Be selective. This is not designed to trade every single band. All right. I hope this video is beneficial. If you get a chance, once you finish reviewing this, please review the other training video on how to trade the grays and also how to use the Grail Mini Trader. So again, thanks for watching. Please try to attend the rooms, our live markets analysis rooms, and our workshops. If for some reason you're new to this video, you've picked it up maybe on YouTube or maybe a trader, a friend of yours sent it to you, and you're interested in the Grail trading system over here at High%, here's our website, high%trading.com. You can request a free trial, or you can contact us. Okay. So again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please try to save those for our live analysis rooms or our workshops. All right. So thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.